We're just one game into Summer League and already Joan Beringer is showing that he's ready for bigger and better things. Summer League really isn't a great predictor for what a player can or will be, but in Game 1 for the Wolves, Beringer certainly was a standout on both ends of the floor, and that's exciting for a player who's absolutely going to be in the rotation on opening night of the regular season. I think where we did see something different from Beringer was with his offensive bag. Instead of just the rim rolling big that we've known, he was kind of test driving his growing skill set. We saw that little left shoulder hook, we saw him spacing out of the paint so when his man is in help on the drive, he can nail that little baseline floater. They're both going to be additions to his game that will really serve him well in the long run. We even saw them straight up running him off dribble handoff actions, where he's at least attempting to split defenses with a low dribble and showing that he can finish through contact off the bounce. Again, that's new and it's really intriguing to see him playing off the bounce and making plays for himself or for others, even if that's not where Beringer is going to really butter his bread in the leagues right now. Because doing this, flying toward the rim, catching lobs, finishing over and around and through defenders is really where he's an immediate impact guy right now. The speed of which he gets out of these screens into open space is what has always impressed me about Beringer, but the hands and the finishing touch through contact is really going to be beneficial for him too. I don't think Summer League really cements this, but I think Beringer's got a chance to be a special pick and roll finisher. Again, his speed just allows him to pivot out of the screen so quickly, the hands allow him to catch below the waist, and the touch allows him to finish over the smaller low man. If Beringer can continue to polish that strength in his game, while also reading the helpers shifting across and making these kinds of passing reads on a consistent basis, he's going to be a monster on the roll. Now, if Beringer can become that in the league, his vertical gravity will start to open things up for his teammates as well, just like it did in this game. Instead of committing to stop the ball, his defender will choose to stick to him, and that's a really dangerous weapon when he does play with guys like Ant and LaMelo. We see it with these really explosive roll man threats all over the league. When they burst into that space, the corner defender rotates over to stop them early, and that leaves the corner open. Again, if Beringer can develop that roll gravity with, say, LaMelo as the playmaker and Anthony Edwards as the shooter in the corner, that's a real offshoot skill that will develop in his game. When you throw in his thirst to collect offensive rebounds and his nose for the ball in those situations, there's the bones of a really handy offensive player brewing there for Minnesota. Speaking of Bones and speaking of Summer League, Bones Highland is back with the Wolves and he was there watching Beringer in this game, and if you want to rep Bones or rep the Twin Turbos with Ayo Dosunmu coming back, or just rep Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, Jaden McDaniels, Olivia Miles and the Lynx, whatever you want, you can do it with 612 Tees. Minnesota made by Minnesota fans, high quality apparel that will help you rep your team and protect your wallet. Go and support Howls and Growls and 612 Tees and get 15% off at checkout with code HOWLS. Okay, so the offense is fun from Beringer, but the defense is what really feels NBA ready to me. The obvious thing is the rim protection, right? That stands out every single time we've seen him. If he's the one outside of the pick and roll coverage and acting as the low man who needs to rotate over to the rim, his timing and execution is super advanced for a 19-year-old. This was probably the best defensive game I've seen Beringer play, and a lot of that was because he made these rotations on time and on point, and did so while only picking up 2 fouls in a very whistle-heavy game. Obviously that needs to translate into NBA games, but particularly on this possession, the way he not only beats the driver to their spot, but then stays down with his hands out of the cookie jar is really an improvement already from what we did see last season. The real intrigue to Berenger's defensive game though is the versatility he continues to flash. We know he can deter shots at the rim, but we see these glimmers of him switching onto guards and using that speed and length to really win those possessions. Again, it needs to be more consistent in a better setting, but to jump out on these ball screens and then contain ball handlers is a trait that only the real top echelon big defenders have in their bags. I think this is what makes Beringer so exciting for Wolves fans, because being able to have that scheme versatility to switch ball screens and eat up these drivers is such a huge point of difference for a defender. Because Beringer is still able to operate in a more traditional drop coverage, where he's sitting back here off the screen in a better position to hunt down drivers and annihilate them at the rim, that's what makes the switchability so fun. It doesn't always look pretty, like he's all limbs and he's so gangly, so you do see him get himself into these awkward positions, but those long strides and insane lift allows him to recover so well at the rim. And then occasionally, including this game, you get to see him really put it all together for a full defensive possession. It's a simple tag of the cutter, then he flows into pick and roll coverage, where he's playing 2 with his length, then when he's called into help, he forces the driver to pass, then recovers back to his man and stifles his shot too. Those are the kind of possessions we've seen Rudy Gobert make a living from. This was just a super fun Summer League Game 1 for Beringer. He was flat out dominant defensively, he was really productive on offense, with a bunch of variety in his offensive game, and he really did look like an NBA guy and not a Summer League guy, and that's important for him going into next season. Now we need to see it continue in Summer League for as long as he's able to play, and then obviously translate into the season proper, but this was another really strong data point for him as he continues his upward trajectory going into next season. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more Timberwolves Summer League breakdowns, as well as other off-season breakdowns coming up, I might even have a sneaky LeBron video kind of waiting to go if we do get the news that LeBron James has made the right decision and come to win a ring in Minnesota, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell me your thoughts on Joan Beringer and the off-season in general in the comments below. Thanks again for watching.